F sharp, la, A, la, C, la, E, la, B flat, la, D, la, and that's with a cold. Hey guys, it is Mike with Become the Night. Welcome back to another episode of Mike the Music Snob. Okay, this video is slightly clickbait, but we will be learning how to do pitch recognition. Just please come with me. Rick Beato did a fantastic series on this, and I was slightly pissed that someone else already did this type of video. Not only that, but he did it ridiculously comprehensively. So comprehensively that it took 3 parts. A little excessive, maybe. He did dive into it very well, and he gave some excellent explanations. This is going to be one part. This is just going to be the essentials that you need to know in order to hear a pitch and name it. So why is this video technically clickbait? Well, that is because technically you cannot develop perfect pitch unless you are a child. A select few children are born with the ability to have perfect pitch, and that needs to be developed at a very early age. But even a lot of adults can actually train themselves to have what is the illusion of perfect pitch. You can develop and utilize 2 specific skills in order to do this. The first is pitch imagery. Pitch imagery is hearing a tone or a sound in your head without any outside auditory information. You will have had to have heard this sound before, and the stronger your memory of this is, the easier it is to recollect. The second skill is relative pitch. This is knowing the space between 2 notes, or what is called the interval. So if I go la, la, I know that is a fifth. If I go la, la, I know that is a major second. Now, developing very, very strong pitch imagery does take a lot of practice, and it will take time to develop. You need to be conscious of it. But with enough time and practice, I am almost positive you will be able to do it as well. Here is what you need. First thing you need is a list of songs. I am going to assume everyone watching this is a music lover. I'm assuming there are songs that you have heard a million times, and because of that, I'm sure there are songs that you know so well, you can literally play them back in your head as if you were playing an MP3. You know the first note, you know the root note, even if you don't know what a root note is. These songs will need to be relatively clear as to what the pitches are in the song. There are a number of metalheads watching where if you're gonna pick some metal songs, I wouldn't necessarily recommend the really obnoxious ones, especially if you're already not good at pitch recognition. Pick something that everything is very clear. And each of these songs will need to be in different keys. The second thing you will need is an instrument. Something in the middle register is best, something that has a tone relatively close to a sine wave, more sine wave than saw wave, something that's clear and round. Guitars and pianos are the best for this. The third thing you will need is singing ability. You do not need to be a good vocalist, you just need to be able to hold a pitch. If anyone here has seen the musical The Music Man who is really kind of a shisty snake oil salesman type of guy, goes up to these 4 people and says, "Have you ever tried singing? Singing is just sustained talking." He's pretty much right. If you're talking and you just stop and hold a note, that is singing. Being able to sing while trying to train yourself to identify, or even when you're just trying to find the pitch, is the best way to confirm outside of your mind what the pitch is that you're going for. It's best because you can't use the fretboard or finger placement on an instrument in order to give it away. The next thing you'll need is knowledge of intervals. Not just the names of the intervals, but what they sound like. For instance, la, la, la. That's a minor third. This is a very crucial component to this ability. The fifth thing you'll need is to know the names of all the notes. Really quickly, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, sharps and flats. Know that E and F are a half step away from each other, and B and C are also a half step away from each other. Moving on. The last thing you'll absolutely need to know is what an octave is, how it sounds, and what unison is and how it sounds. You won't be able to know that the pitch that you are singing is the same pitch as related to something else unless you understand octave and unison. All right, let's begin. The first is choosing the pitch in your song. I typically choose the root note of the song, the key of the song, if you will. The first song I ever did this with, Enter Sandman. La, that's an E. La. Or if you're a Metallica purist, Master of Puppets, exact same note. It can also be the first note of the song, not necessarily the key of the song. For example, the theme for the Lone Ranger. Ba, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-bum, bum, 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 bum. That first note, ba, that's a B. Whichever pitch or tone stands out to you the most, the one that will never go away, the one that you will instantly be able to recall, that is the one that you want to find out what the name of that note is. You will need to make sure that you drill this. You will not only have to be able to recall this sound to memory and hold it there and pause it, but know the name of the note that you're going for. The more references for notes that you have, the better. My reference for A is Celestial Troop from an obscure video game. La. My reference for B, as said before, is that first note from the Lone Ranger theme. La. My reference for B flat is Shot in the Dark by Ozzy Osbourne. La. My reference for C is All the Small Things. La. My reference for D, Sad But True by Metallica. La. My reference for E, we already talked about. My reference for F sharp is one of the first songs I ever wrote, is Terrible and You'll Never Hear That. La. My reference for G is my awful song Trust from my awful, awful first album. La. Once you have your songs picked out, you know which tones you are referencing in your mind and you have those memorized. On to the next step. Next, we are moving on to recollection. Think of the song in your head. Play it back as if you were listening to it through headphones or speakers. Find the pitch that you're looking for, hold it in your mind. While holding it, sing to match the pitch. La. Test reference on your instrument. La. I was a smidgen flat. If you're off, slide your voice in order to match unison or octave with the note that you're using on your instrument for reference. La. I'm on. Or if we're coming from the other direction, la. I'm on. If you missed it the first time, start with the same pitch again from the very beginning. Close your eyes, play it back in your mind, hold the pitch, sing to try and hit the pitch without the instrument, then play the instrument to see if your pitch is correct. Keep repeating this process until you can hit that note consistently. Once you can hit that note consistently, add your next song for your next note. Then retest yourself on the tones you are already familiar with before you add more. Be sure when you add more, I would only add one at a time and then retest everything. Be sure that before you add any more pitches to learn, you have mastered the ones that you are practicing. We have our reference notes. What's next? Next, we test ourselves. Go online to a pitch recognition test site. I will have a link to a good one in the description. There are also apps you can download on your phone to help you test this. These will typically let you decide which notes or how many notes you want to test yourself on. Choose as many as you are comfortable with. Then take the test. When the tone plays back, and typically it is a piano, when the tone plays back, what is the first thing it reminds you of? Pick your tone, pick your reference song, and sing it. Hopefully you will have sang the correct note, but if it's not the correct note, here's what you do. What is the distance of the note you're singing from the note you're trying to identify? Or what is the interval between the two notes? Let's say the note I'm trying to guess is one I'm not very familiar with, D flat. I might use F sharp as my reference point. La, 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 la. I know that F sharp is a fifth away from C sharp, or in this case, D flat, same note. Let's say it's another one I'm not comfortable with. Let's pick E flat. By the way, reference point for anything in E flat, anything off of load or reload. Let's say the first reference tone I picked was an E. La. All I would have to do is slide a half step down and I would find it. Typically, when I try to identify these, I move in half steps and I move in fifths. Those are the two easiest intervals for me to recognize in an instant. Once you think you've locked it in, choose your answer. You may need to replay the tone a number of times just to make sure. And then you can see how strong your pitch recognition is. Mine, without doing that much practice, is at about a 90% accuracy. And that's with a cold! Again, this is gonna take some time, and if you're not very versed in music, it's going to take some theory knowledge. But I am positive that with enough effort, you can do it too. A couple of tips: when you first start doing these tests, start with the tones that you are very comfortable with. Start by using intervals to find other tones that you are very comfortable with. These will be the most objective tools and measures for you to make sure you're getting things correct. Another tip: it is better to know a handful of these notes by heart than it is to know all of the notes very poorly. Focus, make sure that you are mastering the handful or one note that you are starting with. Add in more as you feel comfortable. Do not expect to be perfect. You are going to fuck up a lot, there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna be able to make it past them. For some people, it's a lot easier than others. The best thing I can tell you is engross yourself in music. Whatever tone you're trying to learn at the time, listen to that song over and over and over and over again. For guitar players, the easiest notes for you to start with are your open strings. Start at the very first one. This is gonna take time to refine. I only started getting good at it in college, and I started when I was 16. All right, there it is, the secrets, if you will, to having pitch recognition. Guys, I'm really interested to hear your feedback on this one. I wasn't 100% sure how to teach it, only because I kind of just picked up this technique myself, and I know other friends who use the same technique. I would really love to know how you guys feel about it and your success rate with it. If you like this video, if you like what I do on this channel, please support me on Patreon. Patreon is the only way to keep YouTube my job. There also is a subreddit for Become the Night now. I know they're doing some cool, their own little song suggestion Friday thing over there that's pretty cool, they've been having fun with. Go support the community. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Become the Night. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!